Is this something you think will be hard for you? I don't think I'll be playing anymore. Some people in Hollywood have been speculating for years that Jon Voight, the famous actor and father of Angelina Jolie, would finally speak out. At 85, he's confirming stories that have been going around for decades about their troubled relationship. What is so shocking that Angelina Jolie hasn't said anything? There are going to be shocking personal revelations and a complicated family background. The truth behind the headlines is about to come out. Stay tuned as we go into detail about the shocking news that is shaking Hollywood to its core. The start of a strain. Angelina Jolie and her father, Jon Voight, have had a rough past that began when she was not yet a year old. Voight, a great actor who won an Oscar, left his family in 1976. He then made a big rift between the father and daughter that would soon shape their relationship for years to come. Following the death of their father, Angelina and her brother James Haven were raised by their mother, Marceline Bertrand. Marceline Bertrand also wanted to be an actor, but she put her plans on hold to raise her two kids and give her full attention to them. Bertrand's sacrifices seem to have paid off in a big way for Angelina, who became very close to her mom. Jolie had a closer relationship with Bertrand than she did with Voight. Bertrand had a big impact on Jolie's values and view on life. Angelina never found her father, the great Hollywood star, admirable. Seeing movies with her mother for hours on end is what really made Angelina love acting as an art form. Bertrand encouraged her creativity and desire to act, while Voight was mostly missing during these early years of discovery. When Angelina Jolie was 7 years old, she had a small part in Voight's 1982 movie Looking to Get Out. This was their first job together, but it couldn't make things better emotionally. Voight's unpredictable presence made their personal relationship tense, and he would sometimes forget about Angelina. Jolie slowly learned as she got older how much her father's absence hurt them emotionally. She told herself that Voight's leaving the family made a big difference for her. Those hurt and abandoned feelings still hurt her a lot today because she can't get rid of them. That rough start was just the start of years of an on-again, off-again, and mostly absent father-daughter connection that would be seen by everyone. Even though they had a rough relationship, Angelina's first experience with Hollywood wasn't when her father wasn't around. It was when she was 7 years old and had an unexpected on-screen link with him. Angelina's early days as an actress. Angelina Jolie was born into a family without a father. Jon Voight, her father, left the family when she was about a year old. Angelina Jolie grew up with Chanel Bertrand, her mother. Bertrand cared for and loved the kids and gave them lots of love and creative ideas. She gave us a safe place to live and a home. Voight kept working in Hollywood. Angelina Jolie became interested in acting when she was young, and it wasn't because her father was a famous actor. It was because she spent a lot of time with her mother watching movies. It was Bertrand's dream to be an actor. And she took the time to watch many movies with Angelina when they were being shown, encouraging her love of stories. These things, in fact, made Jolie want to become an actor more than her father's job. When Jolie was 7, she had a small part in the 1982 movie Looking to Get Out, in which her father, Jon Voight, co-wrote the script and also played a part. That first time she was on set in front of the camera was the start of her playing career, but it didn't mean anything about her relationship with her father. In fact, having an experience early on didn't really help close the emotional gap between the two. With age, Jolie didn't hide the fact that her relationship with Voight wasn't very healthy, and there wasn't much to talk about in public. But other than the short time they spent together in front of the camera, they didn't have much in common. Jolie found her own place in the acting world without her father's shadow because Voight was away for a lot of her life. Neither of them could fill the hole by working together, so she did. Her time with Voight gave her hints of how her future would end, but it was her mother who kept her on track and gave her the love and care she needed to make a name for herself. From a very young age, Jolie's life set her up to build the strength she would need to succeed, or maybe even for a long-term and independent life both in her personal life and in Hollywood. Teenagers have problems. Angelina Jolie's teenage years would have been full of mental chaos and struggles that would become the norm for the rest of her life. She would have mostly learned from her mother, Marceline Bertrand, since her father, Jon Voight, left the family. From a very young age, Jolie always felt like she was being left behind. Even though Jolie's mother always loved and supported her, not having a father in her life had an effect on her mental health as she grew up. She also started to feel emotionally alone when she was a teenager. She didn't connect with other people in a meaningful way, which can lead to self-destructive behavior. Self-harm was one of the most important ways Jolie learned to deal with her problems. She has been honest about how the cuts she gave herself helped her feel better and more in control when her feelings were almost too much for her to handle. Jolie once said that hurting herself on a regular basis made her feel alive, even though it was a way for her to deal with feelings she couldn't handle or talk about in healthy ways. This bad behavior turned into a way for her to escape the mental pain she was feeling, which shows how badly she was psychologically hurt at that time. During her teens, Jolie also had trouble sleeping and an eating problem. All of these physical signs of the mental pain she was going through made her feel even more alone and out of balance. She was so stressed out that she couldn't sleep, and her relationship with food got bad, which made things even worse. These issues made her depression even worse, pushing her deeper into a dark place where she felt less and less in charge of her life and future. When Jolie was 19, things got really bad for her, and she even thought about that moment in her life. She told everyone how lost, stressed, and hopeless she felt. At that point in her life, she had a full picture of what she wanted to do. It was at that point in her life that she could no longer handle the long-term pain. At this point, it was clear that Jolie was thinking about actively ending her own life. Because she was in so much mental pain at this point, she was on the edge of a dangerous cliff. When Jolie was only 20, she started looking for illegal sex as a way to deal with her mental pain. She tried almost all of the illegal sex that was open to people her age, and it became an important part of her life. In this time of addiction, her mental health got even worse, making the emotional problems she was already having even worse. Having an illegal sex habit, even for someone as strong-willed as Angelina Jolie, was a huge attempt to dull the pain of the abandonment, desperation, and confusion that had shaped her youth. Like when she hurts herself, illegal shows her inner chaos to the outside world. When Jolie was 24, she had a nervous breakdown that sent her to the mental ward of UCLA Medical Center for 72 hours. This was the lowest point in her life. That was the moment when Jolie's life changed. Jolie had to go to a psychiatric hospital for care because of her breakdown. It also helped her learn more about mental health in new ways, which began her journey to healing and self-reflection. Not even a year had passed when she had her first child, Maddox. It would make her life different from now on. Being a mom gave Jolie back something she had been missing for a long time. Her purpose and a sense of duty away from the dark and toward strength and security. The worst times for Jolie. Angelina Jolie's worst experiences happened when she was in her late teens and early 20s. That's when she was supposed to have been showing signs of emotional problems, mental health problems, and self-destructive behavior. At age 19, Jolie was very lonely and depressed because she had a hard time with her father, Jon Voight, and she had to deal with being famous from a very young age. Because of her mental pain, she would think about taking something away. "I really couldn't see the way out of that pain," Jolie said. Jolie has been honest about how lost she felt and how she couldn't find a way out of her mental pain. She not only dealt with depression, but she also thought about self as a way to hide the emotions that her sadness made her feel. Jolie says that when she cut into her skin, she felt like she was letting go of all her feelings and getting at least some control over something, even though it was bad for her. The worst part of Jolie's bad times was when she was 22 years old. Jolie was already feeling confused and desperate, and she was trying to hire a guy to her. This one, which she did out of sheer despair, was one of the worst times of her life. Later, Jolie summed up, saying that she didn't think she had anything else to say. It was clear how bad her problems had gotten because she was thinking about doing something so drastic as making a choice that could not be changed. When Jolie had her first big nervous breakdown and had to stay in the psychiatric ward at UCLA Medical Center for 72 hours, that was the turning point. This split was a turning point in her life. She had to face how much emotional pain she was in and what was going on with her mental health. When that happened, Jolie saw how big of a change was needed. This time in the mental ward woke her up, to show her the way to heal from the bad road she was on. A short time after that wake-up call, Jolie found a new path in life when she adopted Maddox, her first child. Being a mother would bring her comfort in her darkest times. Taking care of someone else gave her a reason to live and a sense of security that she had never felt before. Jolie gave Maddox a reason for her to change her life, which helped her let go of the bad habits she had in the past. After that, Jolie started making her life and the lives of her children more safe. It would be the end of the worst part of her life and the start of a new one full of growth and healing. Angelina was getting better when she and her brother kissed at the Golden Globes, which caused a media storm that would follow her for years. Kiss with her brother that caused a stir. Angelina Jolie and her brother James Haven kissed in public at the 2000 Golden Globe Awards, where she won the award for Best Supporting Actor for Girl, Interrupted. This was one of the most talked about events in her early life. As she received the award, she gave her brother an emotional kiss. This caused a lot of media attention and public speculation about the two siblings. Pitt did this to show his love and care for his brother in public, but it went viral in a big way. It was said in the leads of every newspaper that they were dating. It became a big story in the tabloids when they asked if there was a problem between Angelina Jolie and her brother. The incident, which is still going on, has made people think of Jolie as even more daring and unconventional. Haven and Jolie quickly shared a bond because Haven said they had been through so much together, especially when their father, Jon Voight, wasn't around. The media exaggerated when she told a magazine that the kiss was just love between siblings. Even after clarifications, the furor stayed with people for years and was one of the most famous events in Jolie's life. A lot of people thought it looked like a quiet cheek peck between brothers and thought it was inappropriate. But for Jolie, this was just one more way that the media seemed to change the way she behaved and who she was. As time went on, the story died down and Jolie's work became more important. The kiss, which was seen as shocking, was just one of those times in her life when the press got to see everyday things from her private life. Throughout her life, she stayed close to her brother and helped them love and support each other even more. A declaration of independence and a name change. When Angelina Jolie officially separated her last name from her father's, Voight, in 2002, she made a public statement. She used her middle name, Jolie, as her new last name. This was almost a defining moment for her because it meant that her famous father, Jon Voight, was no longer how she saw herself. Angelina Jolie had been her formal name for years, but this change meant a lot more to her. It was her way of saying she was independent. Most of Jolie's life had been hard because of her relationship with Voight. Lack of Voight in her childhood left her mentally scarred. The reason she changed her name wasn't just to help her job, it was also to help her find her own identity without the problems and disappointments that came with her father's name. For Jolie, this was about making a space for herself that was different from the one Voight had made in Hollywood. Voight had won many awards and worked in Hollywood for many years at the time. But Jolie didn't want any of these things because she wanted her own achievements to be praised on their own, not just as a way to boost her father's fame. It was a big deal to drop Voight, show that she wants to get away from his influence and make her own mark on both her personal and work life. It's interesting that Jolie changed her name almost at the same time that she and her father broke up in public. It was at that point that Voight talked about Jolie's mental health in a public setting, saying that she was having major mental issues. She was hit very hard by this shock. Bringing up private problems in public only made things worse between them, and Jolie finally decided to stay away from Voight in every way. It wasn't just a formality for Jolie to change her name, it was a turning point on her path to finding herself. Jolie was proud of the tough, independent woman she had become, one who would make her own decisions without having to live in her father's shadow. After being apart for years, Angelina Jolie and her father, Jon Voight, got back together after the death of someone they both saw as a mother figure. Jolie's mother, Marceline Bertrand, died in 2007. Jolie Haven and her brother James Haven were raised with help from Bertrand. When Jon Voight left the family, she kept them safe. When Jolie lost her mother, it was one of the hardest times in her life. However, this could be a good time for her to get back together with her father. When Bertrand died, Jolie and Voight hadn't talked in almost 7 years. They didn't talk to each other very often. She thought about what family was all about again after they lost their loved one, though. Because of years of pain and bad communication, Jolie and Voight's relationship was in bad shape. But when both of them lost someone they loved, it gave them a chance to start healing and getting back together. The main thing that brought them together was the children. She had changed her mind about family ties when she became a mother and realized how important they are in her children's lives. Voight was able to connect with his grandsons in a new way through the grandchildren. For example, they were able to put aside some of their differences for the sake of the grandchildren. Jolie said that getting to know her grandpa was also important for helping her kids move on. As their relationship began to get better, Angelina Jolie set limits to keep her feeling safe. One limit was that they couldn't talk about their sad pasts. Instead, they had to focus on the present and avoid bringing up old hurts. They could get out of that bad situation that way, and there was light at the end of the tunnel. Even though they never got along again, the reunion was a fresh start for Jolie and Voight. Over time, they would learn to live together like a family, even though their relationship would always be rough. Their grief over Marceline Bertrand seemed to bring them back together and give them a chance to heal. Differences in politics. Angelina Jolie and her father, Jon Voight, have had a lot of problems with each other over the years because they have very different political views. Voight is a conservative who doesn't hold back when it comes to supporting right-wing public figures and causes. His daughter, who is more liberal, quickly found herself disagreeing with his more conservative views. For instance, Jolie is well known for her work as a humanitarian activist and global advocate on issues like refugee rights, children's health, and gender equality, all of which are liberal beliefs. Their different political views have been shown many times in public, with Voight attacking his daughter's choices. But one of the most important was when Voight openly criticized Jolie's views on the conflict between Israel and Hamas, saying she might have been swayed by propaganda because she used to be a UN Goodwill ambassador. The public destruction really got to Jolie. The two have made up a few times over the years, but their political fiancés keep putting more stress on their relationship. Because Jolie doesn't like to talk about her personal life, especially her political beliefs and family issues, Voight's public comments about Jolie's political views have made them even more divided. The difference in worldviews shown is a test of how to keep a friendship going when there are such big differences. These issues bother Jolie even more when Voight goes too far and talks about her kids or private life in public, especially about her work in politics. A close friend of the couple once said that Jolie gets very angry when her father talks about her kids like he knows something secret that makes her crazy. Their political differences and the fact that they didn't respect her privacy made their relationship seem to be getting better at times, but their political differences still remind them of how far apart they feel emotionally. In Jolie's mind, it's not just about having different opinions, it's also about setting limits while dealing with a complicated family past. This is what makes their relationship so fragile. There may be times when they try to get back together, but these differences make it hard for them to stay peaceful. Unlike when they fought over politics, this was even worse. When Jon Voight talked about Angelina Jolie's split from Brad Pitt in public, it made their already tense relationship even worse. What Voight said about Jolie's split in public. Jon Voight's public comments about Angelina Jolie's split from Brad Pitt in 2016 made the relationship even worse than it was before. As soon as the news of their public split hit, the media went crazy over their custody fight and personal problems. Voight didn't keep quiet about his worries about his grandkids. Instead, he told everyone, which Jolie didn't like. He told Fox News that he is publicly praying for peace and begs Jolie and Pitt to do the same for the sake of the 6 children while this court case goes on and on. Voight talked more about how worried he was about Pitt and Jolie's kids. They are Maddox Pax, Zahara, Shiloh, and the twins Knox and Vivian. He made it clear that the kids' safety was the most important thing during this rough breakup scene. At that point, Voight had at least partly made up with Jolie, and he said he hoped that there was something they could work together on that would be best for their family. It's possible that he meant well, but the actress was still mad that he wanted to share very private information with the public, especially since the divorce caused so much controversy. It's not the first time Voight has talked about her private life in public, and it's also not the first time that has caused the two to break up. Jolie was extra careful to protect her kids from the intense media attention that always seemed to be on her, especially when she was going through the divorce process. Voight's public comments about their family only made things more intense, which is something Jolie wanted to keep away from herself and her kids. What this really means is that Voight broke Jolie's trust and didn't care that she wanted to keep this a secret. The breakup was also all over the news. All the twists and turns in Jolie Pitt's divorce were made public, and Voight's public statements only fed the tabloid stories. Because Jolie had always set clear limits with her father, especially when it came to being seen by the media, she found herself in a tough spot. Their relationship, which had just started to heal after a long breakup, was strained by what he said. What made Jolie nervous was that Voight's comments came after they had a string of public fights, mostly over politics. Voight, who is a known conservative, had previously criticized Jolie's foreign policy, which showed again the difference between generations and ideologies. Jolie felt like her father's public comments on her personal and political life were constantly rubbing old wounds open and stopping anything from being fixed. Voight did say that he worried about his grandkids, but what he said in public only made things worse between him and Jolie. Even though they had made up over the past few years, his participation in something so personal and touchy for so many people reminded everyone of what they still hadn't talked about. What Voight said about Jolie's split seemed to make their relationship even more complicated, where even good intentions went wrong when one crossed lines. Voight's public comment made their already difficult efforts to rebuild even more difficult. The last report came true. At age 85, Jon Voight finally put an end to the myth that he and Angelina Jolie were dating. Their relationship, which they said was tense, had been the subject of endless gossip in the news. A friendship in which people would wonder what their bond is really about. Jon Voight is known for not talking about personal things, so he had been putting off talking about why his relationship with his daughter had gotten so much worse for a long time. Voight finally admitted what many people had thought for a long time: the reason for their tense relationship with their daughter was that he wasn't there when she was a kid. Voight said that leaving the family when Jolie wasn't even a year old had a real effect on their relationship and would take years to heal. He admitted that his leaving was more than just an emotional event for Jolie, it was also the start of the years of separation they would experience. Voight's statement made public what Angelina Jolie had said many times during her career, that his absence had made her feel abandoned, which changed how she thought about family and relationships. There had always been a lot of talk in the media about Voight's life, but no one knew why he was no longer seeing Jolie. He didn't say anything for years, while Jolie talked about how she felt about her dad not being there. They said it hurt a lot. The fact that her father had always tried to avoid responsibility in this matter made his recent decision to admit his part in this unprecedented event even more historic. He was finally willing to talk about a topic that the public has been very interested in for a long time. Voight's acceptance also showed some of the problems Jolie had to deal with as a child without a father figure. His absence caused her a lot of emotional problems as she got older, from mental health problems in her teens to having confusing ideas about how families work. He admitted that he was in pain, which helped Jolie understand her journey of self-discovery and strength. Voight didn't get this proof until much later in life, but it was a step toward healing. Both Voight and Jolie were able to fight for the truth about their difficult pasts by talking about them in public. This gave them a chance to heal and rebuild. Even though the rumor turned out to be true, the emotional scars from the past still affected their relationship, telling both the father and daughter of the struggles they faced along the way. Thanks for seeing. The shocking truth about Jon Voight brings to light the long-rumored trouble between him and Angelina Jolie. What do you think this means for their relationship from now on? Just write your thoughts in the box below. Thanks for watching. Please give it a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, and click the bell to make sure you never miss an update. Don't leave yet. Please click on the movie to start another exciting Hollywood story that will keep you interested.